YouTube Ozick going the Goat House is back, and we are placing every NFL team into a tier in this video. We have different Super Bowl tiers, different playoff tiers, and then tiers for teams that are just bad right now. A little bit of predicting has to be done in this video, but we're also using what we've learned about teams so far this year. So excited about this. We'll update it throughout the year. Also, at the end of this video, I'll update my Super Bowl prediction, a couple other Super Bowl like predictions in there as well. So really excited about this. Our power rankings are kind of similar, but that's based on what's going on now rather than predicting the end of the year. And this is predictions with some tiers here. So check out those power rankings and then check out all of our other week 4 content. We have that same content going up every single week and always adding more. Like, subscribe, to notifications on, follow us on Twitter. A lot of extra content on there. And our sponsors listed in the bottom right, also pinned in the comments: GLD Shop, Liquid IV, code GOAT for both sites. Have the Chiefs chain on from the GLD Shop. We have a giveaway with them going on. Again, links pinned in the comments. So here's your tiers. And here are all your teams. We're going to go one by one and place them in the tiers. So really excited about this. And maybe we'll tweak what the tiers are called. Of course, that bottom one is going to be only for this week because the Chicago Bears and the Denver Broncos are playing each other this week. And they are, in my actual power rankings, they are 31 and 32. So it's a battle for who's the worst in football. So we will put the Broncos in there and we'll put the Bears in there. And again, I think they are. It happens to be they're playing each other this week, but I do think they're in a bottom tier of their own right now. But we see at the top, Super Bowl champ is in this tier. So I'm trying to put teams that can actually win the Super Bowl, in my opinion, right now. In that tier. Slight Super Bowl chances. Like, I don't want to rule those teams out from winning a Super Bowl, but I don't feel as good about them as the top tier. Playoff contenders, so teams that are going to they should definitely make the playoffs, and they can actually make some noise in the playoffs. I don't quite think they're Super Bowl teams yet. Maybe that can change based on how they play throughout the year. Then playoffs, question mark. Teams that are kind of borderline, will they make the playoffs? They're right there. Slight playoff chances. Yeah, have a shot for the playoffs, but I'm not feeling great about it right now. Not good enough means they're not good enough to make the playoffs, and they're a bottom tier team, but not quite Broncos versus Bears right now. So we're just going order in how they're listed. The Falcons, I'm going to put in this playoffs question mark tier. I guess debatable right now if they feel like a playoff team. They are 2-1. They slipped up against the Lions. The Lions are a pretty good team, but just the lack of offense, and it could just get stale at any time, and they're really relying on the run game. The defense is better, but is it good enough? But they can win that division. They're not my favorite to win the division right now, but they can win that division, so I think they belong in that tier. They definitely are above slight playoff chances. In terms of how I feel about them, I don't really feel like they're a playoff team yet, just because they just don't have that consistent offense yet. But because of the division, I guess they're up a tier based on my thoughts on their roster and how they're playing. For the Bills, I am going to put the Bills in the Super Bowl champ is in here tier. I think they're a legit, they're a legit contender. And I actually feel a little bit better about the Bills after looking at the last couple weeks. We're only going off 3 weeks, but week 1, we're throwing out the window. We always do that for week 1. Week 2 and 3, they dominated. Yes, they didn't play the best competition, but they dominated, and they're different this year. There's more to their playbook, running more 12 personnel. They spread defenses out more. They stretch the defense out more. There's so many weapons you have to account for. They actually can run the football now. James Cook looks like an explosive runner for them. Defense has been playing very well. They mixed it up, too. Last year, a lot of cover 2. This year, more cover 1, cover 3. So it actually feels like a different Bills team, and that's what they needed because they could not get over the hump before. So I actually feel better about the Bills right now a little bit. And even though we would have put them in this tier to start the year, I feel a little bit better about them right now than I did then, and definitely from last year before, but a big test against the Miami Dolphins in a couple days here. The Cowboys, the interesting one. To start the year, I wanted to put them up here. Now they do not have Trayvon Diggs anymore, which is actually huge. I put in the slight Super Bowl chances. I still think they're a great team. I think I'm a huge Trayvon Diggs guy. I think he's one of the best corners of football. He was playing. It was only 2 games he played, but he was playing like the best corner in football. Passer rating allowed was like 4.9. He's a big-time playmaker. So defense is still great, led by Dan Quinn, Micah Parsons, those guys. They still got ball players, of course, and the offense is still explosive. They can win with the pass. They can win with the run. It's just I need them to have Diggs. I need them to. I think that's huge for me to get over the hump. Not only get over the hump, but be a legit Super Bowl champion contender. I need them to have Diggs, so that's tough. And then without Diggs, they got beat up by the Cardinals. I don't think that's their identity. I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, we're going to move them down a tier just because they lost to the Cardinals. But you kind of do see, without Diggs, it's the defense might not be as great. But there are people saying the Cowboys suck because they lost their Cardinals. No, I'm not saying that. If I was saying that, they would be in a much, much lower tier. I still think this is a really explosive team, really good team on both sides of the ball. It still could be the best defense when it's all said and done. Offense is great. Can it be great in the playoffs? Again, Diggs' thing was huge for me. And the Browns are next, and I'm actually going to throw the Browns are like here and here. Like Nick Chubb makes it, if they had Nick Chubb, it'd for sure be here. Without Nick Chubb, do I put him down here? But no, I'm going to actually put them there because, and I was on the Browns going into the year too. I know people were kind of giving me shit for that, and there's still a lot of season going. They don't have Nick Chubb, but this defense is legit, and we'll see if it continues to be legit, but I think it will. Jim Schwartz is a great hire. They added a lot of good pieces across that D-line. The secondary, the D-line's playing like one of the best in football. The secondary's playing like one of the best in football. They're, arguably the best man coverage defense out there. I mean, the Cowboys as well, and they're both in the same tier. But a big reason why I'm putting them in this tier is because Deshaun Watson against the Titans last week, who was a pretty tough defense, played the best game he's played as a Cleveland Brown, no doubt. So it's one game. Does that mean a whole lot? Not really, but that could tell us that he's heading in the right direction. Like, could he actually continue to get better? Could he look more and more like his old self? And they're actually giving different looks than what we've used to in that Kevin Stefanski offense. Actually, some spread looks randomly in there too. I love that. So it's a new coordinator. They're just getting going on both sides of the ball. New coordinator on the defense side look great. So even though they're missing Chubb, there's a possibility they can. This is a team. There's some teams that get better as the year goes on. There's some teams that get worse. I see potential they can get better and better, and it kind of makes sense because Deshaun Watson kind of just got thrown in there later at the end of the year because of his suspension last year. So you can't really base things off that either. So I'll put them here. I don't know if they're quite ready for here. Are they consistent enough? Is Stefanski consistent enough as a coordinator? They don't have Nick Chubb. Do they start to get game plan for as the year goes on? I don't think so, but possibly. I like them there. I know a lot of people are lower on the Browns, but that's where I'm at. And I thought about this spot, but if it was Nick Chubb, it'd be firm in this slight Super Bowl chances spot. The Buccaneers, we are going to put in right there with the Falcons. They're in the same division. They look better than I thought, even though they got beat up by the Eagles in Week 3, and that was like, okay, this might be more like it for the Bucs. There honestly, it might have been some positives I saw. They started all right. They just got to get more points. They got to execute fully. The offensive line's an issue, but Baker, he has some bad turnovers, but he looks all right at times, fitting the ball in tight windows. He's clutch still. They have weapons. The defense can make plays. I mean, they still turned Jalen Hurts over. In the divisions, it's a big week this week against the Saints. The division's kind of up for grabs. I don't think they're any better or worse than the Falcons right now. So I think they're right there in that spot. They're kind of similar to the Falcons in every way, though. Like in terms of evaluating them on paper, like I almost want to have both those teams in the below tier, but because they're division and because they're 2-1 right now is a small factor. I'm more so predicting rather than just looking at records. But because they're division mainly, we'll put them in the like borderline play, like playoffs. Like it's maybe not like type tier there. The Cardinals, we kind of come in the year thinking they would be this bottom tier. They would be Broncos versus Bears. But they're not. They play two teams tough to start the year. They do blow comebacks and lose those games. And they beat the Dallas Cowboys, who are still a very good team. Now, do I want to say, because they won one game in Week 3, we're going to put them in like a playoff tier? No. That is impressive. They showed through 3 weeks that they can play. It plays a small part. They can play with decent teams, and they're tough. Their coaching staff looks good. They're well coached. They get the most out of their playmakers. That plays a small part, but I factor in they're better than expected. Again, they were supposed to be down here. They're better than expected, But what if Kyler Murray comes back? What if he comes back? And there is questions. I question myself. Does he fit that West Coast style offense coming from spread in college, spread it under Kingsbury? It's going to be tough, but he's got to be better than Josh Dobbs, who's playing impressive. So if Murray, I don't know if Murray's going to come back. I said before the year, my prediction was they just hold him out all year. It still could be the case, but I'm not guaranteeing that. I'm not an injury expert. I'm going to put them in slight playoff chances. They're better than expected right now. They've actually played better than what their record shows. Does that mean they will be better than their record shows throughout the rest of the year? No, we learn more things about teams in weeks 4 and 5. Keep that in mind too. We're right there about to get into like where we learn teams' true identities. But if they continue to be tough like they are and to be able to close out games and get Kyler Murray back, which gives them a boost, they could be damn sneaky. It's tough for me to put them in this tier right now, but I will actually put them in this tier. The Bengals started slow, very, very bad in the first 2 weeks. Going into the year, like easily up here, but look very bad in the first 2 weeks. Don't look too great in the first half of the Rams game. Look like close to their normal selves in the second half of the Rams game. I'm putting them in here. We're not going to overreact based on the first 2 weeks. The Bengals do it every year. I said it going into there. Don't be alarmed if they start the first couple games poorly. They got going in the second half of that Rams game. Defense really got going. Offense kind of clicked a little bit. Still some things to work on with that offense. So this is what the Bengals do. They're going to get going. They have all that talent on both sides of the ball. You know, they are still, for me, in this tier. Now, again, this is a good example of me predicting still. Me kind of trusting predictions, things like that. That's the purpose of this video. My normal power rankings video, which I love because it kind of is based on now, how teams are actually playing now. So we don't predict in that video. So now you kind of get both. So if you haven't seen the power rankings, check them out. I'm a big fan of my own power rankings just because I think teams throughout the year decide where they go. While this, I'm deciding here. I decide where I think teams are at. The Colts are 2-1. I still want to see more from them. Is it one? Because they're 2-1. They've been a little impressive. I'm more impressed with the coaching staff. Have they done anything that says like they're way better than we thought? I think they're a little better than maybe we thought, but that's just based off the first 3 weeks. I do want to see a little bit more, see if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy. I'm going to keep them on. I'm going to have to go slight playoff chances. And they started the year here, if I were to say, because I thought they'd be one of the worst teams, and they still very well could be. They're getting after the quarterback right now. They're running the ball. Zach Moss looks pretty good. They're running the ball well. Big game against the Rams. That's going to be a big one this week. I think they should be able to get pressure on Stafford. So that it should be a fun game there. So we'll see. But slight playoff chances still. I still don't know if they're ready. I still don't know if they're good enough. But if John Taylor comes back and plays for them, that could give them a boost too. It doesn't sound like he will play for them though. So that's the thing. Eagles, first 2 weeks they won, but they did not look like themselves. And I'm like, something's different. And they're missing both coordinators, and it's showing it. They're missing both coordinators. So I would, after the first 2 weeks, if I would have done this video, I probably would have put them down here. But week 3, they show us Philadelphia Eagle football, and they show us the wide variety of talent they have. Even though Hurts turned the ball over a little bit, he still made big-time plays. But just so much talent on that team. I do think they are and will miss those coordinators, Steichen and Gannon, a little bit. But they are still extremely talented, and we saw a little bit more of it in week 3. And that's a good sign, because each week kind of tells us more and more about a team, especially after the first couple weeks. So could they kind of continue to show that more and more? So a pretty good sign. So now I don't even hesitate. We put them up there. The Giants, based on the way they're playing right now, Giants are an interesting one, because based on the way they're playing right now, I want to put them right there. That's where I want to put them. They're not good enough tier. But they're going to get Saquon back. I still think they're well coached. They are getting predictable, though. That's my issue. I don't know if the NFC is that deep. They're very close to being 0-3, but they're 1-2. Huge game against the Seahawks this week. I'm actually going to put them, right now, based on how they're playing, they're here. But I'm actually not going to go here. I'm actually going to go here, but they're pretty close to being here. I'll go here. I think they kind of could figure it out a little bit. I still don't think they're as good as last year. They're kind of getting game plan for a little bit, but I'm going to still put them there. I think they're easily capable of playing much, much better than they are. Compared to like the Cardinals are probably playing better than we expected, and they could play better with Kyler Murray. We talked about that. And the Colts are playing better than expected. I don't know if they're really capable for a whole lot more this year. The Giants, I think, are very much capable than more of what they showed us. So I'll actually put them up there, but they're pretty close to being here. So more time will tell. If they lose to the Seahawks this week, that could bump them down to here. We'll see. Speaking of the Seahawks, we're going to put them, the first team in our playoff contenders tier. I definitely think they're a playoff team. Does that mean they're guaranteed to make it? No. But I like to think the teams in the playoff contenders tier, there's a very good shot at them making it. They have one of the better, more explosive offenses in football right now. They can run the pass. The defense is pretty terrible, though, and that's kind of what's stopping them from being here. I don't even think about putting them here. So that's where they're at. They're kind of firmly in the playoff contenders. The defense is nowhere near as good enough for them to be here, but the offense is so good and they can win in multiple ways to put here. But, the defense could get better as time goes on. Getting Jamal Adams back, the young guys developing. But I don't think it'll improve as much as is needed for them to be a Super Bowl team. But I do like them there. The Jags, I probably would have started the year here, and they definitely can get back there. I do want to almost predict them to get back there, but they're extremely sloppy right now. They're dropping the football like crazy. I'm not worried about Trevor Lawrence one bit. I'm not worried about the playmakers on offense one bit. The offensive line's not awful, but it's a little bit of a question, maybe keeping them from up here. And the defense and the pass rush is super inconsistent. So I actually feel more comfortable putting them in the playoff content. I think a high-end playoff team, I don't know. This is a team that they can definitely get back to here with showing me more. But right now, as they're 1-2, and they are not playing well at all and giving me, not doubts in terms of playoffs, but some doubts in terms of winning a Super Bowl this year. I think they're a good team of the future. I feel like I have to put them right there right now. The Jets, it's pretty sad because we're going to put them in not good enough because if they had Aaron Rodgers, you'd probably be putting right there. So that's that much of a drop-off. Most important position in football is quarterback, how much it plays a part in your team. The offensive line struggling, obviously. It could get better as long as it stays healthy. The defense is great, but if they're constantly on the field, then it's impossible to be as good as you can be. So that's kind of where and they might still, with Zach Wilson, still win some games just purely because of their defense, but that's where they belong right now. The Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champs, I'm going to put up there. What I like is that they got their offense back on track last week, but I really like is the defense looks really good. The secondary is very tight in coverage. I love that. About them. The Chargers have started the year off struggling. They're 1-2. They're fresh off a win. They barely escaped when things went their way, though. Defense is a question. Offense is going to be explosive. Lost Mike Williams, so I'm probably lower on them than where I was. To start the year, I wish I did this to start the year. I probably would have been right in here, back and forth between these two, in the middle if that existed. But we're a little lower on them now. We're going to firmly put them here. But they could, if they play it the way they've been playing, even though they won last week, they could end up here. They could end up just missing the playoffs with how loaded the AFC is. And the Lions became a tough one because I instantly, when I thought of this video earlier in the week, I was kind of in my head thinking of tiers where to put teams. I instantly want to put the Lions there because they're a good team, like we thought. They, 10 win, maybe a little bit more team was what we thought. They're a good team. They should be in the playoffs, and it's kind of what's happening right now. So I immediately want to put them there. But we actually got to see, week 4 started already. We got to see the Lions and the Packers play last night, and the Lions were absolutely dominant in that game. And it is a little bit of the Lions are pretty damn good, and the Packers are, maybe not as good as they looked in the first 3 weeks. I think it's a little bit of both. But the Lions being so dominant and just run and pass blocking so well, being explosive, the defense getting better and better. The run defense is so much improved. It's could they be a dark horse Super Bowl team? Could they be here? So maybe I'm going to keep them here. It's very hard to call the Detroit Lions a Super Bowl chance, team right now, but they could get there with more performances like that. I guess my issue is they're still extremely young, even though they're very good and young. Jared Goff, even though he's playing well, is he a Super Bowl quarterback? And the last couple of years, Dan Campbell's made some questionable coach decisions to kind of lose them games. So are those Super Bowl guys yet? I think a lot of the team, like the offensive line, the D-line's really coming together. There's some pieces in the secondary here and there too. There's Amon St. Brown, Laporta looks good. The running game with the running back duo. There's pieces that say Super Bowl. So But before last night, it was like no hesitation. They are most definitely not here. They're most definitely not here. They are firmly here. But then after last night's game, it's like, since we'll revisit this video, like, are we going to be pushing this? Are we going to be? It's hard to do it right now. But this is where I put them. So Lions look like a pretty good football team. Niners look like the best team in football right now. They were here to start the year, and they're back here. Durability is the question. Long term, I mean this year. None about this video is about future years. Saints, I am going to put them not with the other NFC South teams. They're still the NFC South favorite to me. We'll see when Derek Carr comes back, though. That kind of is playing a part. That almost makes me kind of want to put them down here. Huge game against the Bucs. Huge game for both those teams. But I love this defense. I think the pass rush could be a little better. It's actually tough because the Saints' pass rush has always been so good, and it's declined a little bit. It's still good, but it's declined a little bit. But the linebackers are great, but the secondary is super great right now. So I love that. They're explosive on offense. They're just not consistent, but they are getting Kamara back. That's a huge part as well. I do like their schedule too. So this is kind of an outlook type thing. So I'm going to put the Saints in the playoff contenders. I don't know. I guess that's the difference. Some of these teams I think can win I think will win multiple playoff games, like the Jags or maybe the Lions. I don't know if the Saints win more than one, but they do feel like a legit playoff contending team, and they can win playoff games. The Packers, before last night's game, I was without hesitation going to put them there, but I'm going to drop them. I'm going to drop them to slight playoff chances. I look at them, and again, the first 3 weeks, they beat the Bears. They look good against the Bears, but the Bears are the worst team in football right now, and week 1 doesn't really tell us much. Week 2, they blow a comeback against the Falcons, and the Falcons are very stale on offense, so that's pretty tough. I think the Packers are stale on offense as well. Week 3, they come back and beat the Saints. Does it happen if Carr gets hurt? Probably not. They relied on kind of one quarter getting going, but they did win. But in terms of my takeaways for the rest of the year, are they super positive with the Packers? They're no. And they look god-awful against the Lions, and every year it's like a fact. Every year it's a fact. I say it every year. Weeks 4 and 5 is where we start to learn about teams. Like weeks 1, 2, and 3 are very often a lie. So the Packers showing in week 4 doesn't mean that they'll be that the whole year, but it's not the best look for me in the back of my mind. So they're borderline here, but I don't think they're quite ready yet. I think the offense is too, it's like that boring, predictable run to open up play action pass. And I think they're going to get more predictable as the year goes on. And they don't really have any star talent out there. I do love Aaron Jones, but they don't have anybody to really take over. Bakhtiari's out. Defense is solid. Remember, they'll get Jai Alexander back. And they do have injuries, but is that their identity this year? Like injuries, it could be. So I feel comfortable with the slight playoff chances, with them. Panthers, we're going to put not good enough. Still a work in progress for them, obviously. They need more talent on offense. It's just not there. Defensively, they have talent here and there. J.C. Horn's out. That's tough, but I guess we're kind of used to that at this point. Patriots are interesting because I said during the offseason that they will probably be a team that's better than what their record shows this year, because I actually think they're talented on paper and their schedule is very, very tough. That was kind of my take on them. My take's actually a little different right now. They're 1-2. They barely squeaked by the Jets. I wasn't overall impressed with that game. They were kind of close in the Eagles in the Dolphins games, but they still made mistakes in those games. So you could say, some people would say it's kind of right on their preseason prediction, like they're better than their record shows. But I'm saying not so fast. I think they're right around of what they've showed so far, and they're in a tough division. I'll put them in slight playoff chances. Because their division, it's even slight, smaller of chances. But they don't belong in the not good enough. They're better than that, so we'll put them there. The Dolphins are going to go in the Broncos versus Bears tier. Not, because they just beat the Broncos they scored 70 on the Broncos. So we're going to be quite the opposite on that one. The Dolphins have been arguably the best team in the AFC, we'll call it. Niners maybe the best team, or the Niners the best team in the NFC. The Dolphins the best team in the AFC. The most explosive offense right now. Just ridiculous. I mean, there's so much going on. It's so fast. It's so smooth. It's so difficult to stop. The defense could get better, but it could get better. I think it should get better. Will they get Jalen Ramsey back? I guess the big question with the Dolphins, is durability. It's durability, and then right now they're winning by scheming things up, scheming things open. For every single team, there's a game plan that comes out, like a more of a proper game plan that comes out as the year goes on for every single NFL team. But it doesn't work fully, again, even if it's the most proper. Like the Chiefs are an example. Like teams figure out how to game plan for the Chiefs better than they did before. But they're so good, they have the best quarterback in football, that it really, they're not stopping them, but it's a better game plan. So that will be the question. Last year we saw injuries and a little bit of a better game plan for teams. So the Dolphins just didn't look as explosive. So those are big questions, for the future of this year. But they're so damn good right now. It's so hard to not put them in this tier. It's going to be a tough game plan. They're tough to deal with. Most explosive offense in an offense-driven league right now, so put them there. Steelers will go to the playoffs. Question mark. I like their schedule. The schedule is what they got going for them, because I don't know if they're as good as their record is right now. They got dominated by the 49ers, and I picked them to beat the Browns, but I don't think they're better than the Browns. I think it was Monday night at home. Some weird things happened. Nick Chubb got injured. So they should win that game. Doesn't mean they're better than the Browns. And then the Raiders game, they played great. The pass rush was great, played great on defense. The offense, I still wonder about a little bit. But they very well could be a playoff team because they're decent. They have a very good defense, and they have playmakers, and because I like their schedule a lot. So they very well can make the playoffs. I don't really see them winning playoff games, though. I don't think they're quite there yet. So we'll put them in that tier. The Raiders, we're going to put in the not good enough tier. The offense is okay. I mean, they got guys that are explosive, and they could go off at any time, but is it going to be consistent, like offensive performances? Absolutely not. Defensively, I think they're one of the worst in football, and they have Max Crosby, and that's about it. There's other guys that are decent, but it's really about it. So they are in the not good enough tier. The Rams are 1-2 right now, so it's kind of on page of our they're right there with like our prediction. Like everything's going like the same way as we predicted, right? They're 1-2. I'd say wrong, actually. I think they're well, I don't know if I should say wrong, but I do think they're better than expected. But why I say maybe we shouldn't say that is because we know they're a better team with Stafford. Will Stafford hold up? So that was unfortunately kind of part of in my back of my mind, part of the prediction going into the year. But they are better. They still feel better than they were supposed to be. And they will get Cooper Kupp back. I'm going to go playoffs, question mark. I do think that that 7 seed is kind of wide open, and the Rams having a win and looking more explosive than I thought they would. And Stafford looks fine. Like he still has some sloppy turnovers, but he doesn't look like, because last year we wondered if the injury affected him long term. He's different, last year, and then he was injured and held out the rest of the year. So is it really going to be worse? No, he looks like Matt Stafford. Like he's not as good as he once was, but you get what I'm saying. He looks like Matt Stafford. So they can still make the playoffs. They're explosive, very explosive team. They're so well coached on both sides of the ball. So well coached. Ravens, I'm firmly gonna put here. Actually, I know people want to put them here. They want to so bad. I want to so bad because the talent is there. Unique talent is there. Todd Monken offense, kind of get excited about it. It could get better as the year goes on. And again, they have talent. Maybe they're getting healthier at the time I'm talking right now. But I cannot put them up there. I have to keep them in a very good playoff team. Like they're going to win multiple playoff teams, but I don't think they can win a Super Bowl because of the dirt. Plain and simple. I do not trust this team to stay healthy, and I don't know who will. People can be optimistic. They're going to stay healthy this year. You're going to tell yourself that, but will they? I'm going to sit here and predict injuries. I don't want to do that. But with the load of talent, the Super Bowl contenders, the other AFC teams, the Ravens are just as talented. But I just cannot put them in that conversation when it is so when will they be healthy? So. And I do think the Todd Monken offense will get better. It looked like the same old Ravens offense last week against the Colts, and then for them to lose that game, that's really not ideal. But you go, well, they're injured. But yeah, they're injured. That's kind of their team, so it kind of proves the point. So I think they're kind of on the higher end of the playoff contenders list. I just don't view them as Super Bowl team unless they're healthy. And they got to be pretty damn healthy too, because are they still as good as the Dolphins, the Bills, teams like that, the Chiefs, if they're 100% healthy, I think yes, maybe. But anything lower than 100% healthy, I think, maybe they're here. And then the durability of the actual Ravens, which we're talking about, the actual Ravens, they are here, most definitely. Commanders, they looked really good the first 2 weeks, but they played the Cardinals, and this might be one of the toughest teams to place here. They looked really explosive, though, the first 2 weeks. They played bad teams, and they got destroyed by the Bills. But it's the Bills. The Bills are up here. We are not putting them right next to the Bills. I'm going to go slight playoff chances. They could get better as the year goes on because they're young. They're still learning Bieniemy's offense. The defense tends to do that. Like we talk about, the Bengals tend to start bad in general, and then they get really good. The Commanders' defense tends to just do that. Like they start like, what is this? They're supposed to be really good, and they're like okay, or like maybe decent at best. But then they get really good again. So I think that could be the case. Right now, they're better than the Giants. Like that's what the difference between this video and the actual power rankings video. My power rankings is based on how teams are playing now. I don't predict in that. Right now, they look overall, like based on the resume, the 3 games, they're better than the Giants. When it's all said and done, will they be though? It's an interesting debate because you can argue the Commanders will be better because they will get better than the way they are now, and they're already better than the Giants. Why would they get better? Why would they get better the way they are now? From where they are now? Because again, they're young, they're developing still. The defense will get better, but I do think the Giants are very capable of being a lot better than how they've been, and I think they can turn that corner. That's interesting debate though, because I can almost argue against myself that the Commanders will be better at the end of the year. A lot is riding on the Giants Seahawks game. If the Giants lose that game, right down there. And it's not like, oh, they lost to the Seahawks, how bad are you? Or Putin. It's not like that. It's just a must win. You don't want to be 1-3. You got to show me something. Show me something here. And the Seahawks had a very bad defense. Very good team. Seahawks should win that game, but you never know. But show me something, Giants. So they're on the brink of moving down. Texans and Titans are in the Texans. The AFC South teams are in the same boat. I'm going to put them right next to them, right next to the Colts. All 3 of them right there. The Jags aren't the best team in the division today. It's pretty wild, but they're not. But will they be? I'm still pretty confident they will be. And it might be a bold take of me, but no, it's not really, because it's the same take I had before the year. And the team with the next best chances is probably the Texans, because they're going to continue to get better. We saw it last week. They did lose the Colts the week before. They were completely depleted, completely injured. They were injured last week, and they beat up the Jags. So watch out for the Texans. I like their schedule too. Fuck it. I'm gonna put the Texans right there. That's a little bold of me, but these are my predictions. This is what I feel. They were my sneaky team coming in the year. My sneaky team going into last year was the Jags. They were better than expected. Sneaky team the year before was the Bengals. They went to the Super Bowl. So put me the Texans up here, even though right now today, and this is what the power ranking video is for, the Colts are leading the division. They're better than them. I don't know if the Colts. I still don't know what's going to happen to the Colts the rest of the year. It's still tough. The Texans got so much upside this year. The Titans play teams tough. They're off, and that's where I want to put the Titans up here. They play teams so tough. They're well coached. Their offensive line is so bad, though. And it makes the offense so bad. And the offense already is kind of bad. It's Derrick Henry trying to carry the group. And they got other guys out there, but how much can they get the receivers the ball? And Tannehill's declining. Clear as day, declining. With his pocket presence and movement and lack of, I should say. But the Titans are going to play teams tough every single week. Forget the Browns game last week, I guess, but they're going to play teams tight. I'll put them down there. The Texans got so much upside, and they've been playing hurt, and they have good quarterback play right now. They have good passing game, which goes into that. They have a good running game. The defense, they're getting pressure on the quarterback. They make plays in the secondary. They're well coached on both sides. I like the upside. I was originally going to put them here. And the Vikings are weird because you got to think they're much better in their record. They're 0-3. They got to be much better. So can they, with that offense, the production they have, can they catch fire and just go on a streak? I mean, they were close to winning all 3 of their games. So could they just do that, win 3 straight, 4 straight, 5 straight? I think it's a possibility. I think in the back of all of our minds, we think it's a possibility. But, they still have issues. The defense is still bad. They still turn the ball over a bit. Watching the Packers last night, what I'm thinking, last night against the Lions, I'm like, the Vikings got to be better than this team, right? They have to be. Like, how are they not? So that's kind of my thoughts right now. So you want, like, the Vikings are supposed to be able to be like this tier. Like going into the year, they're this. They're They're definitely not more. They definitely were not more than that. They were never a Super Bowl contender going into the year. But they were here. Maybe some people would have them here. Like right now, based on the talent they have and the product, how explosive their offense is, you want to put them here. But if you start 0-3 and you got a bad defense and you turn the ball over, like really, what are your playoff chances? What are your playoff chances? So now, actually, I thought the Commanders were the toughest team to place in a tier. Then I thought the Texans were the toughest, or the Giants. Now, I think out of all of it, was actually the last team. I think it was in alphabetical order by the V for Vikings. That's why they were last. But I actually think the last team is the toughest team to place. I think we have to use today. Like if you start 0-3, you have slight playoff chances, right? I don't want to overthink things there, but they can go on a streak. Their offense, how explosive their offense is, it like almost says here, but that's not all it's about, So we're gonna put them here. I didn't really think about ordering these teams. Yeah, it's too tough to order them. I think it's easier to order the playoff contending teams. Like I think I want to put the Jags here. The Lions, I'm a little higher on than I was before. Maybe the Lions there. Back and forth on this right here. Based on the way they're playing, it's like that. And the Saints there. Which team out of these? Yeah, those teams. I think the Steelers have the best chance. No, maybe that's why it's tough to rank these, because the Steelers are probably better than all these teams, but the NFC South team's got a decent shot. Like very easily, you could take the Saints, put them down there, and put one of those teams up there. But Broncos versus Bears, I'd imagine won't be a tier for me next time we do this video. But the loser will be at the very bottom, maybe by themselves. Thought that was funny. We can tweak how the tiers look every week here and see can teams change my mind? Can they change my mind? The Cowboys losing Diggs, drop them down. The Dolphins being as explosive as they are, kind of put them up here. The Jags, they kind of got dropped down. So it's possible to change my mind based on how you're playing during the year. So that's why we'll revisit this. But I actually want to talk about Super Bowl. I thought this was a cool idea here. We can update Super Bowl predictions. So my preseason pick, if you watch that full video, I predicted Bengals and Cowboys. And of course, that is the Cowboys with Trevon Diggs. Without Trevon Diggs, I'm a huge Trevon Diggs guy. I am not predicting the Cowboys to win this, go to the Super Bowl, without Trevon Diggs. So, but my preseason pick was Bengals and Cowboys. My predictions in general have been very good, very, very good, I'd say, over the last several years. But that was my preseason prediction. In my updated pick, I really thought about this. So, and that's why I threw in the today. If the season ended today, based on what we've learned from these teams so far, it's Dolphins and Niners. Not standings wide, who's the best, because since they're undefeated, it's just if the season ended today, who is the most suited to get through the playoffs and win the Super Bowl today? Who are the best teams today, basically? And I think it's Dolphins versus 49ers Super Bowl, and that very well could be the Super Bowl at the end. I think that's both. I think it's very realistic as well. But that's why I thought this was a good idea. We can continue to update if the season ended today, who it feels like, because that's going to change throughout the year. And my updated pick could change as well, and that's why I thought a lot about this. In the NFC, and the Eagles are very good, and again, the Cowboys don't have Diggs, so I don't love the prediction of the Cowboys. And there's other teams that could be sneaky, but I think it's clear-cut the Niners are the NFC team right now. That's my prediction. I didn't really have to think too hard about that. I thought a lot about my updated AFC pick. I picked the Bengals to not only go, but win the Super Bowl in the preseason. So do I keep it even though they aren't playing that great right now? But they did kind of pick it up and look more like the Bengals the end of the second half of that Rams game on Monday Night Football. I really thought, and the Dolphins were considered as well, but a team that I really, really, really thought about when it came down to it, and I thought about the Chiefs as well. The Dolphins and Chiefs very, very, very much considered. But the team I really thought about, had a hard time, was actually the Buffalo Bills. I am higher. We talked about it during when me placing the tiers. I am higher on the Bills. Not a whole lot, because we were already pretty high in the Bills right now than I was, because they're going out there and showing they can add more to their playbook. They can run 12 personnel. They can run the football. They can create these variety of plays, different style plays to throw off defenses, and they have to account for all these different weapons, because they have two tight ends of weapons. They have multiple receivers led by Stephon Diggs. They have multiple running backs with James Cook. They have one of the best players in football in Josh Allen. It's really on the offensive line. Well, and the defense staying healthy. They're mixing things up on defense. So I think teams kind of figured them out down the stretch in the playoffs, like the best of the best. Those teams, now they're tougher to figure out. So I almost put the Bills in here, but I don't want to change my prediction off of 3 weeks. And everything's kind of at the same time. People go like, how could you pick the Bengals based on how they've looked at least through 2 games? Well, one, I don't want to overreact from multiple games. 2, my predictions are usually pretty good. I usually like to not change my predictions too much unless I have to. But the third one is everything we're on schedule here. We're on the Bengals. They're on schedule. Like I said it going into the year, don't be alarmed if they start 0-2 even, and they did that. They started like shit. In the back of your mind, it does make you wonder a little bit, but we can't really judge the Bengals off right now. I think they'll eventually get going. They're very well coached on both sides of the ball, especially down the stretch of the season in the playoffs. Extremely well coached on defense. The defense is great. It's very well balanced. Offense, they'll be explosive. I think they're getting mixing going more. The offensive line, it's kind of new. They added Orlando Brown Jr. to it. It'll continue to get better. Everything's kind of on schedule still, right on schedule. So I'm going to trust my original judgment and say the Bengals eventually figure it out. I almost went Bills and then strongly consider the Dolphins. And will the Dolphins be durable enough? But the Chiefs as well, who have been predicting like crazy to go to the Super Bowl. But it's only been 3 weeks. That's the main thing I'll mention when talking about my updated pick there. But you could say, well, why'd you switch it at all? Well, I don't think a Diggs-less Cowboys team would make it. It wouldn't, if I knew that Diggs was going to be out, it would never been my prediction to begin with because you're missing one of the very best corners. I think he's playing like the best. But in football, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And the Cowboys got to get over the hump that they can't get over either. So these are my takes heading into week 4. I kind of like this idea, update some picks. I like the Super Bowl if the season ended today. Like if the playoffs started today, who would I predict to make it through the playoffs in the Super Bowl? The 2 best teams in football right now, based on what we've seen. Dolphins and 49ers. So you can play along in the comments. That'll be pretty damn cool. I like to see the different takes there. We can continue to update these throughout the year. We'll throw in full updated playoff predictions throughout the year as well, like seedings, who makes it, round by round, Super Bowl, things like that. We're always adding more content like this, but we have our every week content every single week. So join us, and that is up for week 4. Check out all those predictions. You will not be disappointed by the content. That is going to do it for this one, though. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.